Students, welcome back to the session 3 on soil mechanics. Today we will be discussing about the portion on unit 4. The topic will be compaction of soils. Students, is a very important practical aspect of soil mechanics, and in civil engineering practice this is the most common ground improvement technique which is done, and we will discuss in more detail about the factors affecting compaction. We will try to go into the details of how it affects the engineering properties of soils and how we can use this for having a proper field control. First thing, what is the definition of compaction? The compaction of soil is nothing but the artificial rearrangement of the soil particles by some external force, by mechanical force, mechanical energy. The process what happens when you try to rearrange the soil particles, the volume reduction takes place, and as a consequence there will be improvement in the soil properties. The changes in the soil properties are will have strength. The strength increases, shear strength of the soil increases, then compressibility reduces, compressibility is nothing but we have a reduction on the application of load. Then when the shear strength increases, definitely the load carrying capacity increases. Then we have the reduction in permeability or the hydraulic conductivity. Permeability of the soil also reduces. Therefore, there is going to be an improvement in the engineering behavior of the soil. Now, let us try to understand. There is one more term known as consolidation of soils. What is the difference between consolidation and compaction? Now, compaction of soils and consolidation soils, in both the cases there is a volume reduction. This chapter we will be discussing in the next semester. I will give you just a brief introduction to what is meant by consolidation. In the first instance, compaction is an instantaneous event. This is a time-dependent process. It's a time-dependent process. The second thing, in compaction, it is for partly saturated condition or unsaturated condition. For a partly saturated soil, this usually takes place for a saturated soil. For a saturated soil system, we are going to use this. Then, this is going to take place because of the removal of air voids. Here, this is going to happen because of the removal of water voids. Look here, here also there is a volume change, here also there is a volume change. Here the volume change is because of the removal of air voids, water remaining constant, whereas here it is removal of the water voids where the volume reduction is taking place because of the squeezing of the water. Now let us go to the last one. Here we need some external energy in the form of, we have to use some external compactive energy. We have to use some compaction methods. We got different methods of compacting soil. We use compaction methods. Here it is because of, this is because of the sustained load. We need a sustained load. Means constantly placed load. Okay, there is a sustained load. This is also called creep of soil. Students would have studied in concrete the concrete with time, okay, there will be a deformation. This deformation of concrete under sustained load is called creep of concrete. Here also similarly soil also undergoes creep because of the sustained load. Now in the compaction methods, okay, you got different field methods and also laboratory methods. We'll discuss in detail about the different rollers which are used in the field to compact the soil. Now we'll go to the next aspect. We'll try to see in terms of a phase diagram. Always understanding things from the fundamentals. Soil is a three-phase medium. Let us try to see how, using a three-phase diagram, how does it look. Okay. Now in the three-phase diagram, let us say this is the, in a partly saturated sample, what happens? We will have some amount of air wads, we will have some amount of water. This is the water present. This is the soil solids. So let us say this is the volume of solids, this is the volume of water, and this is volume of air. This is air, this is water. Now what is going to happen after compaction? So this is the diagram how it looks. We are trying to separate the phases. Okay, now what is happening here? The amount of air is going to get reduced. This is the change in the volume of air. Now this is the quantity of air which was present. This is before compaction. And this is after compaction. This is the soil solids. This is after compaction. Let us just use before compaction. This is just before, after. This is for a soil which is compacted. Now in the similar way, if you try to see the phase diagram for a saturated system which is undergoing consolidation, in a saturated system, since I told it's a saturated system, for the same amount of let's try to take the same amount of watts. Now this will be the amount of water. This is the amount of water. This is the soil solids. This is, let us make it a soil solids because the total is soil volume, so it's a soil mass. Now, this is the volume of water, which is equal to the volume of watts, and this is the volume of solids. Now, after consolidation, see there is a volume reduction, but the volume reduction is because the amount of water has been squeezed. This is soil solids. This is the amount of water. This is the volume of water. This is the consolidation process. Now it's very clear here the volume reduction is taking place. There is a reduction in volume because of the. Now the volume of water is remaining constant and only the volume of watts is getting reduced. Therefore, this under constant water there is a reduction in volume, and this volume reduction is because of the reduction in air watts. And in this case, it is the reduction of water. Now we'll go to the next aspect. What are the factors affecting compaction? What are the factors affecting compaction? Students, there are four factors which are affecting compaction. One is the amount of water that you are going to use. The second one is the amount of compactive energy. The third one is the type of soil. The fourth one is the type of compaction. Now you may start wondering why in compaction again, what is the different types of compaction? We've got different types of compaction. For example, it may be impacted compaction, it may be rolling type of compaction, it may be kneading type of compaction. We'll try to discuss in more detail when we take the field methods. Now the first one, let us try to go what is the effect of water content. Now when the water is added before compaction, what happens? Now we try to get a curve like this. This is the density versus water content. Now to understand this, how did I get this curve? Now we get the variation of the density with the change in water content. This behavior was first given by Proctor, R.R. Proctor, when he was working in American projects for the construction of dams. He came out with a laboratory method, to determine the type of soil and its compaction characteristics. This is a typical shape of a compaction curve. We have got different shapes. We'll try to discuss at length what are the different types of soils and how it is going to affect the compaction. Now he gave a laboratory method. In his name, we have got the name standardized as the standard compaction test, standard Proctor compaction test. In the standard Proctor compaction test, with slight modification, our Indian standard IS 2720 part 8, the part 7, gives the standard method, standard Proctor test, standard Proctor compaction test. The details of the procedure is being given in this, and in part 8 we have the modified Proctor test. I'll give you more details when I discuss about the effect of compaction energy. What is meant by compaction, modified compaction test, modified Proctor compaction test. Okay, these are the two codes which are to be referred when you want to do this thing. For your laboratory session, you will have to refer to this code, and you are going to do this in your laboratory session, standard Proctor compaction test. Now, he gave this laboratory method. Let us try to discuss about the method a little bit before getting into the how did I get this curve? How do I do this test? And how to explain what is the factor which is affecting here and how this compaction curve typically behaves in this. Okay, what is happening when there is an increase in water content? We usually use the word moisture content instead of water content. Only for this, both are same. Moisture content or water content are both the same. But here, specifically in compaction, now what's happening as the water content is increasing, the density is increasing, and it goes to a peak value, which we call it as the optimum moisture content (OMC), and the peak value of the density is called, this is called the rho d maximum. Now to understand this, in the laboratory we have got a 1000 cc mold. The mold looks something like this. We got a mold which is having a base plate. Okay, we'll have this base plate is detachable, and we'll have a arrangement. Okay, we'll have, I'll just give you the line diagram how it looks. Okay, we'll have the attachment. Okay, we'll have the connection so that we can, there will be a connection like this, there will be a connection like this, and there will be a additional collar. This is an attachment, and this is connected. This is the collar, this is the mold, This is the base plate. This is cylindrical thing. The volume is up to this level. This is 1000 cc or 1000 ml. Now this is cylindrical in shape. Now this sample, wherever you want to determine the compaction characteristics, are nothing but the compaction characteristics are optimum moisture content and rho d maximum. Optimum moisture content and this is rho d maximum, that is maximum dry density. Now in SI units, my question, sir, we should always write in SI units. In SI units, it is always unit word. Now it is a convention, okay, to use it in density, in compaction. Nothing, okay, you can also plot it as dry unit weight versus moisture content. You get a similar curve. Only thing, the units will be kilonewton per meter cube. So in field parlance, okay, in the field language, the contractor will come. See, whenever they come to the laboratory, they want us to do the test. So they tell, sir, do a MDD test. MDD test means a compaction test to get the maximum dry density. Now to do the test, what we do is, as per the code, we take the soil which is passing through 4.75 mm here. There are some corrections to be done. Okay, we take a sufficient quantity. Usually we take 3 kg of the sample. We divide into 3 portions. Okay, first mix with a known quantity of water and we try to. So what is the starting guideline? Okay, we take the water content approximately near to the plastic limit. Okay, people have done a lot of research and they found that the optimum moisture content of a clay soil is very near to its plastic limit. Therefore, based on experience, okay, our local soils in Bangalore and the tropical soils, you can start with the typical red earth which is available in Bangalore in our BMS college. You can expect moisture content OMC very near to 25, 20 or in that range, 25 to 20 percentage water. Therefore, I can start with around say 6 to 8% initial water content. Then what I do is I mix the sample in a tray. Then I divide into 3 portions. Now I am going to compact it in 3 layers. Now this 3 layers has to be done in equal layers. Now what I do, each layer of this, let us say this is the first layer of the soil. Now when I place this, okay, in plan, how does it look? It looks like a circular mold. Okay, now I am going to take a rammer. The rammer is something like this. This is a cylindrical rammer. We have something like this. We have this is something. This is rammer. This rammer weighs 2.6 kg for the standard Proctor harvesting. Now this height of fall is 331 centimeter height of fall. I can lift this, I can lift it and I can drop it. Okay, this will be something like this. Something like this. Okay, now this mold can be used for, so this rammer can be used for compaction. Now what I am going to do, once I place this first layer of soil, okay, now what I am going to do, I am trying to lift it to a height of 31 centimeter. I am going to freely lift it and drop it. You should not forcefully drop it, okay, you have to compact it less. Now when I am compacting this, each layer has to be given, now we are going to give 25 number of blows. I am giving 25 number of blows, in each layer 25 number of blows, and after giving 25 number of blows, so what I am going to do, I am going to take a spatula and I am going to scratch it. When I scratch this is done so that when I place the second layer, when I am placing the second layer, now this after compaction would have come to this level. Now I am going to add the second layer of the soil. Similarly, I am going to compact it and I am going to get the second layer. This is the second layer, this is the first layer. Then similarly what I am going to do, I am going to place the third layer of a sample. When I am placing the third layer, I am going to place this collar. In the first stage, I am not going to place this collar. In the third layer, when I am going to compact, after compacting the two layers, I am going to add this collar, I am going to fix it, I am going to tighten it. Then I am going to place the third portion of the soil mixed with water, and I am going to compact it. Now by experience you get it. Now after compaction of the third layer, the projection when I remove this collar, this projection should not be greater than 5 mm. It should not be greater than 5 mm. Now once you do this compaction, you are going to remove this collar, then I am going to trim the additional 5 mm, then I am going to remove the base plate, I am going to find out what is the mass of the soil occupied in this mold, which is 1000 cc. If I have taken the empty mass of the mold, I can take the difference, I get my mass of the soil occupied in this volume of 1000 cc. Now I can remove this, eject this sample, I can remove the portion, I can keep it for water content determination, I get my water content. As usual, how you do by one try, you are going to get the water content. Next, now once I get my water content, now I know my mass of the soil, I know what is the volume, I get my bulk unit weight. Now if I keep for that trial what is the water content, I get my water content. From this, I can find out what is my dry unit weight or dry density. Once I get my dry density, I can plot here. Now I can break the sample which I have ejected, I can break into smaller portion, then add some more water. For example, first trial 1, I have started with say 6% water content. I can go to trial 2, I can add 2% or 3%, let us say I go to 9%. Like this I mix the sample, again I do the same 3 trials, I get the, now what happens when the increase in water content, because I have increased water content, what happens, there will be an increase in the density. That's what people have observed and they have reported. Now what is the science behind it, what is the logic behind this, we will try to discuss. Like this we go for trial 3, this is trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, I can go with 12%, trial 4. Like this I try to maybe I will not go beyond, once I would have reached here somewhere near this, I would have reached the optimum, therefore I will not make much change in the water content once I reach my optimum water content. Then further I am going to, you can do like this 5 or 6 trials. Now what is the reason for doing with the less increase in the water content is that compaction becomes very difficult once you reach the optimum. How you are going to understand that there is a condition that you reached optimum? Because what happens, each trial when I am trying to increase the water content, I will get more quantity of sample into the same 1000 cc mold, and when I take the mass, okay, I get an increased mass in the same volume. Therefore, I can get to know that the mass is increasing for each trial because of the increase in water content. Now after reaching an optimum, what happens? Instead of increasing the mass, what happens? There will be a slight decrease in the mass, and further there will be a decrease in the increase in water content, there will be a decrease in mass. Therefore, it indicates that it has reached the optimum. And also you can see, once it reaches the optimum, when you are doing the plastic limit, similar to the plastic limit, your soil will be very plastic, very difficult to do the compaction, it starts dancing. Therefore, you need to be very careful. We should add very less water content, but we need more number of trials. Now this is about the compaction test. Now once you are done with the compaction test, we get this data. Once you plot it, we get a typical compaction coverages. Now I need to understand why there is an increase in density with an increase in moisture content. Now let us try to. Proctor, when he tried to give this laboratory method, Proctor came out with a theory called the lubrication theory. In the lubrication theory, what happens? Soil is dry. When you are adding water, what happens? The soil particle, if this is the soil particle, you got a thin film of water, and this is trying to lubricate the soil. Earlier it was very dry, it was very difficult to slide past each other. Because of this layer of water, what happens? It is trying to slide past each other, therefore it is getting lubricated. Now once you again increase, more amount of water is there, more lubrication, very easy to slide past each other, and you occupy a denser condition. Now it should keep on increasing. No? Once it reaches an optimum condition, what happens? any further addition of water is not removing the air voids further, it is just going to add to the water voids. It is going to add to the voids, and that voids is nothing but in the form of water. Therefore, the density of water is far less than the density of soils. Therefore, less quantity of soil solids are there in the same 1000 cc. Therefore, what happens? The density of water being less, therefore it is going to lead to the decreased density. Now we should always take, this is called the wet side of optimum, this is called the dry side. Now we should do at least 2 to 3 trials on the wet side of optimum. Now we will have to be careful when you are trying to get the number of trials, because doing compaction takes a lot of time. You do more number of trials on the dry side and you do only one trial, okay, it is not going to be sufficient. You need to have at least 2 3 things. Now coming to the next theory, that is given by Lamb. He gave a detailed theory based on the diffuse double layer. I will discuss about this diffuse double layer theory in the next portion, okay, after a 5 minutes break. We will come back after the break. Students will come back after the small break. Now we will continue with the theory of compaction. Now Lamb came out with the diffuse double layer theory. He tried to explain why the compaction, the density is increasing with the increase in water content. Now in the dry condition, normally what happens? See, we will have the attractive forces and the repulsive forces in soil. What are the sources of these attractive forces? This is the cause. Okay, the van der Waals forces of attraction and repulsive forces are because of the diffuse double layer. Now, when you go to the Islamic textbooks, you will not understand the intricacies of this. What are these attractive forces? How does it come into picture? In the dry condition, what happens? The particles, the net attractive force or repulsive forces is going to control the soil structure. Now, what happens when, see, in the dry condition, what happens? The soil particle, already we have discussed about this, it will be usually negatively charged, the surface is negatively charged, and at the edges, you will have some positive charges. At the edges, you will have some positive charges. Okay, now what happens? Because of this positive charge, okay, you will have another clay particle which is having negative charge coming and attracting to this positive charge, and this negative charge is trying to get attracted, and you have an edge to face arrangement. Okay, you will have something like this. You have a particle like this. Okay, you have a particle something like this. You have a particle something like this. Okay. This kind of arrangement is called a flocculated structure. When you have flocculated structure, you will have, it's very difficult to dislodge the particles because there will be very good attraction. In the dry condition, initial condition, it will be more of a flocculated structure. When you start adding water, what happens? The van der Waals force of attraction are more dominant, hence you will have a flocculated structure, and very difficult to, even if you give a compact energy, the particles will not slide past each other and they will not occupy a denser condition. Therefore, removal of air voids, if you got air voids inside, to remove these air voids, it becomes very difficult. Now, once you start adding water, what happens? Okay, now what happens? This surface, okay, you start having the diffuse double layer. Once the diffuse double layer starts forming because of the addition of water, this diffuse double layer slowly what happens, the particles start, okay, now they start repelling because you got to the diffuse double layer here, and this, therefore it starts repelling, therefore you will have the repulsive forces because of the diffuse double layer. More quantity of water added to the soil, okay, you will have more diffuse double layer develop, and hence, okay, what happens, they start repelling each other. Then when you give the compactive energy, it's very easy to compact because the particles will slide past each other and it occupies. Therefore, you can go to a near parallel arrangement of the particles. You may have something like this, slightly. Compared to the earlier condition, we have slightly dispersed structure. Now look here. Now we have got more like a flock. Okay, it is like a cardboard structure, like a honeycomb structure. Now this becomes a relatively dispersed structure. Particles are dispersed structure. More is the water content, more is the dispersion, more is the repulsion, and more is the dispersion in more compacted condition of the soil. Now, once it reaches an optimum moisture content, as indicated by the optimum moisture content, this is the optimum condition, OMC. This is rho D, this is the rho D maximum. Now, beyond this, what happens? Any amount of water which is there in the soil, okay, it is not going to increase the dispersion. It is going to just add to the volume of the voids. Water being less dense, okay, therefore density of water, as I already told, is far less than the density of soils. Therefore, what is going to happen? There is an increase in the water voids. Therefore, there is a less quantity of soil particles within there. Therefore, it starts decreasing. So this is the reason. This explanation is reasonable. Earlier explanation given by Proctor was a very simplistic explanation, whereas the one given by Lamb was very well accepted. In 1958, he published this paper, the detailed paper in the ACA. Before that, he presented the paper in Colorado conference in America. It was a very important conference on compaction of soils. One can refer to that, okay, in the class, when the class starts, okay, I'll give you this article, or I may upload it in the Google Scholar or in the Google Classroom. I'll give you this information. This is a very detailed article. It's very rare to get this article because it's a very old volume. So now I got this article and share with you. Go to this article, you can understand more details about this. Now we'll go to the next aspect of the second now along with this, whenever I plot the compaction curve, one thing you have to understand, we have a companion curve. This is the typical compaction curve. Okay, this is the various trials. Now we try to plot a additional companion curve. This is the moisture content. Now I have the phase diagram. What I am trying to do? I am trying to remove the air voids. This is the water. This is air. This is soil, solids. Now I am trying to remove the air voids. Now this is a practical condition. Now this is something, it was in the beginning. This is something in the beginning, before compaction. Let us say I got some amount of water, I have added some more water. It is air, soil solids. Now what's happening? If I can remove this air voids, volume of air completely, it's a theoretical condition when I completely, by some means, if I can remove this air voids, which is not practical, that density of the soil sample corresponding to the water what is there, for each trial I can theoretically calculate what is the density, theoretical density, which is only for my understanding. If I removed all the air voids, how does it look? This curve, this is actually a curve. This is, though it's not a straight line, this is called zero air void line, or it is called ZAV line. Now in the examination you will be asked to not only plot this curve, we'll also have to plot this ZAV line. Even in laboratory, you'll have to do this compaction test, you have to plot this. For this specific trials of this water content, we can theoretically calculate this. How to get this? Now what is the, you can take related density, no, it's not related density, the dry density is GS into rho W by 1 plus E. You can also, in case you want to plot it as unit weight, you can also use this expression. Now we know SR into E is equal to W into GS. Now if I substitute for E, W GS by SR, this expression becomes GS into gamma, sorry, rho W divided by 1 plus, instead of E I am substituting W into GS by SR. Now when I completely remove this air void, what happens? You have got only soil solids, you have got water. That means it is completely saturated. In that condition, for a ZAV line, what happens? The degree of saturation is equal to 1. That means your rho D becomes GS into rho W by 1 plus WGS. Now for a particular soil, we will be knowing what is the specific gravity of the soil solids. I know for each trial what is the water content. I can substitute this water content. I know my GS, I know rho W is equal to 1. In case I use in terms of unit weight, I can similarly substitute it. Instead of rho W, it will be gamma W. For each trial, I can get each trial water content, I get what is my theoretical density or unit weight. Similarly for the next trial. Similarly for all the trials, we can plot it and we can get. This is the theoretical boundary where your air voids is been completely removed and inside the soil you have got only water and soil solids. That's a theoretical limit. Okay, this is very important. Now let us go to the next aspect. Some problems, okay, they will be asking you to plot the ZAV line. Sometimes they may ask you also to plot the 80%, say Na is equal to 80%, okay, 80%. This is percentage air voids. Na means percentage air voids. And percentage air voids. Now we will have to understand when percentage air void is equal to 100% means, that means degree of saturation is equal to 0. This is 100%. So usually you may not ask to go for you may ask for 20% or 80% air void, sorry. Percentage 80% air voids. This doesn't mean that okay, degree of saturation is not equal to 80%. This is very, very important. This is not equal, okay, both are not equal. Therefore, this is something different. Therefore, when this is asked, okay, if you are asked to calculate and plot a curve having the air voids is equal to 80%. In that case, your rho D is equal to 1 minus of Na into G S into rho W by 1 plus E. E is equal to, okay, now this same expression, only this term has come. How these two are equal? Because left hand side is rho D, here also rho D, but why this term? Now this is true because when SR equal to 100 or 1, what happens? Na equal to 0. Therefore this becomes, okay, this is for, therefore that is a line which is called the ZAV line. Therefore for ZAV line, this is going to be valid. For other percentage air voids, okay, the percentage air voids given in the problem, it may be 70% or 90% or whatever it is, you have to substitute and calculate. You can use this expression for calculating the dry density. Then your curve comes something like this. Okay, this may be the curve for this may be 90% Na. This may be 80% Na. Therefore, don't get confused with this. This is 100% saturation line, SR equal to 100%. This may be asking these things, therefore you need to know these two expressions. Therefore, this expression is very important for ZAVLN. This is the expression for, this is for your solving the numericals. Now we'll go to the next aspect. Next factor which is affecting the compaction of soil is a very important thing. And why this came into existence? The second one is the compactive energy. Students, in the Second World War, there was a need to develop not roads. The roads are the payments for the airfield payments. Okay, when they wanted to develop this airfield bases, okay, they had to compact it because when the aircraft lands, there will be a lot of pressure and the payments should be not yielding, and once the subgrade is properly prepared, your payment is going to perform well. Therefore, in that case, they try to see what is the effect of compactive energy. Now, this is rho d, this is moisture content. Now, once you increase your compactive energy, this is how it is going to see the shape of the curve. To the optimum, to the left of the optimum means on the dry side, the limb is going to be shifting to the left, very much high, and also to the left, whereas the right portion, that is the wet side of the optimum, it is not going to have much difference. We will try to discuss what is the reason for this. Similarly, we can have different things. And the line joining these peak points, the OMCs of the various compactive energy, is called the line of optimums. The work is done properly, we will get this line of optimums like this, and this is for, this is the standard Proctor test. This is the reduced Proctor instead of this is the modified Proctor. Now one can usually we go for a modified Proctor. Most of the road bases are prepared with the modified Proctor energy. You don't go for reduced Proctor. Reduced Proctor may be for only laboratory studies. Now, how we are going to do this modified Proctor? In the same 1000 cc mode, see when we try to take the standard Proctor test and the modified Proctor test, we will try to see what are the Proctor test. Standard test and modified Proctor. Now what is the first one? First one is your weight or mass of hammer. Mass of hammer is 2.5 or 6 kg. It is not the right thing, we have to use mass of hammer. Here it is 4.9 kg. Now coming to the height of fall of the hammer. Here it is 31 centimeter. Here it is 45 centimeter. The number of blows is 25 for each layer. Here also is 25 blows. Now the last one is number of layers. The number of layers for the standard Proctor is 3 and it is 5. Therefore, one can find out the compactive energy. Now, what is meant by compactive energy for each? This is a very important aspect in compaction. The compactive energy is given as, what is energy? The units of energy is joules. The joules is Newton meter. That is the amount of work done for moving a force per unit distance. Okay, now the rate of conducting this energy, the rate of work done is called the energy. Now to find out this rate of work done, now what is the mass that is moving? the mass is 2.6 kg, and the number of drops. Okay, we have 3 layers into 25 number of blows for each layer. Okay, into the height of fall is the mass of fall is 2.6 kg into height of fall is 31 centimeter. Let me convert into meter divided by 1000 cc. Okay, this is 1000 cc. I'll convert into meter cube. This becomes meter cube. Therefore, I get in terms of kg force meter per meter cube. Because this is a numerical quantity, this is the mass kg force into meter. This is kg force into meter. So this is a dimensionless quantity. Therefore, I get kg force. Okay, I'll get some value. Now I can convert into multiply by 9.81 divided by 1000. I get in terms of kilonewton meter per meter cube. Kilonewton meter is equal to. Now if I try to substitute and get this value, it comes to 593 kilojoules per meter cube. This is for the compact energy for standard Proctor test. Similarly, for the modified Proctor, I can work out in a similar way. For modified Proctor, students, we get modified Proctor. The compactive energy is equal to 5 number of layers. Each layer you are giving 25 number of blows into the mass is 4.9 kg. The height of fall is 45 centimeter or 0.45 meters. 1000 cc into 10 raised minus 6. Therefore, I will be getting in terms of so many kg force meter per meter cube. Now on conversion, I get around 2704 kilojoules per meter cube. See, let us not worry about the values. Okay, at least we know this is almost if it is 600, 6 it is more than 4 times. More than 4 times the compactive energy. Therefore, this is used for road works. We are going to use so much of compactive energy for compacting. Students, now all these things, why you need to do this compaction test? So whenever you are trying to compact, so I'll say you are trying to prepare an embankment, you want to prepare an embankment you needs a lot of quantitative sample. See this is an embankment, see this, the quantitative sample with that you are going to need for compacting the embankment needs a lot of sample. Therefore, the quantity of sample to be obtained. Therefore, like for a company, you need to recruit many engineers or many candidates. You make an interview, you do a written test, you have got different levels of screening. Like this, you don't have many levels of screening, you will have only one level of screening. We do a laboratory test and try to select the suitable candidates so that we get your required soils for the conduction of the construction of the embankment. Now, to also use the properties when you want to do compaction in the field, you need to have a compaction control. When you want to have a good compaction control, we should know what is the maximum density or the water content at which you can get that maximum density, so that you can use a similar quantity of water to achieve the maximum density, so that you have uniformity in the compaction. Now, we have to go to the third one. The third property is, this is a very important thing, is the type of soil. The type of soil. Now I'll give you you can even see we do the classification of soils for various engineering applications. Based on the compaction curve also we can do the classification of soils, based on the shape. Now this is the moisture content. Now if you have got a well-graded sand, you get a typical U-shaped, V-shaped curve which is inverted V-shape, and you will have a narrow limbs like this, and you will have a very sharp thing. Now as the this is a well-graded sand or a sandy soil. Now what happens when you get a poorly graded sample? What happens? The limbs start. This is poorly graded. Sandy soil, it may be gravelly soil. Then once you get a silt, okay, you start getting curve like this. It may be a silty clay. So let us say this is a clay silt. More silt is there. Now when you go to a clay, what happens? You can see the compaction curve. Okay, it has got a wide range of water content and the optimum moisture content and the density. You can see here OMC is very high. OMC is very high, and the range of water content is also, the curve is very flat. Based on the shape of the curve, see, for a clay soil, you will have a flat curve, and once you have more coarse grained material, you got the silt is having more bigger size particle compared to clay, you will have a curve which is not so flat. Then when you go to well-graded, poorly graded material, okay, granular material, what happens? It becomes narrow and it becomes a sharp thing. Once you get a well-graded material, you get a very sharp curve and it will be in a very narrow range, and also the density will be very high. Therefore, based on the type of soil, you are going to have a different compaction curve. Now finally, we got the type of or method of compaction. Method of compaction, based on this, we have got different type of field compaction. You got this is static compaction. It may be impact type of compaction. You got rolling compaction. You got kneading compaction. Based on this, okay, your shape of the curve. But same soil, based on this thing, kneading compaction is going to have large amount of strains, large strains. It is something similar to when you prepare a dough for breaking chapati, okay, you mix it and you try to press it using your hand. Okay, similar way, when you try to use some kneading type of equipment, you try to roll it or try to knead it, you're going to have large strains, therefore the compaction curve is going to be different. Therefore, different methods of the compaction methods adopted for the same soil is going to yield different compaction curves. Students, will take a break. We'll come back to the next section on compaction. We'll try to see what are the what is the based on the soil structure, how we can explain the shape of the compaction curve, weight of optimum, interval of optimum. We'll see what are the different properties, incident properties that are going to be affected, and what is meant by field compaction control. Then we'll try to take up some numerical example. Thank you. We'll come back after a short break.